lump of flesh, blood and bones and veins. It's a big mistake we're making here. Misidentification with matter is the root cause of our problems. Why are we doing this? Why are we misidentifying with matter? Is it? Because we think we can enjoy it. It's like the hog is thinking, yes, this stool is very, very nice, eating stool. Stool and urine, yummy, 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 is it? We're so foolishly trying to enjoy in that place where enjoyment is totally non-existent. This is the epitome of stupidity, is it? That's our position. We're in the epitome of stupidity. Try and enjoy in that place where enjoyment does not exist. And this great personality, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and so many great servants of Srila Prabhupada also, came to deliver us from this illusion, to show us there's something better than this temporary life of sense gratification. This is their great kindness upon us. You see, here we were trying to enjoy in that place where enjoyment doesn't even exist. Completely futile, frustrating situation to be in. Then to be shown an actual way to get out of this darkness of ignorance, to come to an actual position where you can relish eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all existence, and ever-expanding, unlimitedly ecstatic, unlimitedly deep and variegated loving relationships. There's nothing better than this. Actually, this is the Krishna consciousness is actually unlimitedly relishable. It's not that it's a certain amount of happiness, a lot of happiness. No, there's an infinite number, not number, but an infinite quantity of transcendental bliss. It's ever expanding transcendental bliss. In other words, you relish this, it goes on expanding infinitum for all of eternity. In the material world, we enjoy, but then that enjoyment diminishes. You're really hungry, there's a big feast, you're enjoying, and then your hunger gets satisfied and you're no longer, it stops because you're no longer enjoying it. But the Krishna consciousness is the opposite. The more you relish it, the more your appetite increases. And the more your appetite increases, the more you relish it. And then your appetite increases even more. So it goes on ad infinitum, just the opposite of the material existence. So why should we cheat ourselves? That's the question. Why should we continue cheating ourselves by trying to enjoy in that place where enjoyment does not exist? We should take advantage of these great teachings. Krishna says, Satatang kirtayanto mam, this is 9:14 Gita. Satatang kirtayanto mam, yatantascha drida vrata, namashantascha mang bhaktya, nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, that can be us, and we want it to be. We can be one of those great souls that Krishna appreciates by absorbing ourselves, satatang kirtayanto mam, always talking about Krishna, his wonderful pastimes, how he appeared within the prison of Kamsa, and how Vasudeva, the amazing pastime of how all the shackles and the iron shackles became loose, the guards fell asleep, the doors open, and he just walks right out of prison. Amazing pastime. Even though it was night, it became a bright day. You could see everything. But then a huge rain came. But then Ananda Shesh made a hood like an umbrella. Just amazing things. So there's so many amazing things to hear about Krishna, to talk about Krishna. So many amazing services we can do for Krishna. You see, we can make a nice offering for Krishna. We can make a flower arrangement for Krishna. We can write a poem for Krishna, write an article for Krishna. We can revolutionize the world for Krishna. You see. There's so much out there just waiting to be done, waiting for someone to step forward and do it. We're at the precincts of the greatest frontier. There's a great frontier. Just like we studied when I was a kid in school, we studied about the great pioneers, who pioneered America. It was just a big, vast wilderness, and they went out and pioneered this continent. Great heroes were taught. But now we can be actual pioneers. We can establish Krishna consciousness. And actually, Prabhupada told us he gave so many amazing instructions. He said, if you would simply read, chant, and preach as much as possible, then very soon this will be the only religion in the world. Can you imagine? What is the potential we have if we really take this process seriously? If we really take this process of preaching and chanting and reading, how much do we read? Are we reading all of Prabhupada's books? Is everybody reading from Prabhupada's books every day? Is it? How much are we serious to read through all of these books again and again and again and again, looping the loop through this amazing ecstatic Prabhupada's ecstasies? We can directly, you don't have to go back to Gada to associate with Srila Prabhupada. You can associate with Srila Prabhupada right here, right now, just by diving into his purports. You see? So just by reading, chanting, and preaching, we can actually revolutionize the whole world. That everybody accepts Krishna consciousness as the world religion. Can you imagine what kind of world that would be? If the whole world was Krishna conscious, can you just imagine? No more slaughterhouses, you see? No more abortion clinics. Just imagine what kind of world it would be. We can create a Vrindavan atmosphere on this planet, in every town and village and hamlet, every home and every heart. Just by taking this process of reading Prabhupada's books very seriously, chanting Hare Krishna with great absorption, trying to avoid all the offenses, and preaching. So it's amazing, amazing prasadam distribution also. Prasadam distribution. It's like we found, we have one, we're thinking how we can distribute prasadam here in Austin. We have one of our friends who has a shoe, sells athletic shoes. So we just, he just agreed to have prasadam candy. We can put prasadam candy by his refrigerator, by his cash register, I mean, not a fridge, his cash register. So all his customers will get prasadam, you see. So we should think, kind of very nice. My wife had this idea. We can just, maybe he'll distribute prasadam in his shop. So he agreed. Get some prasadam candy, and he would get, all his customers who wanted to get a prasadam, and they get their shoes. You see? So we have to think of how we can get these books out there, the holy names. The more we can distribute this knowledge, the more the world will become transformed. The whole world right now is suffering due to a lack of Krishna consciousness, and we also are suffering due to a lack of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada told me in one letter, he said, now you just qualify yourself to see Krishna face to face. Wow. That's an order I get from Prabhupada. You become qualified to see Krishna face to face. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's described in the Brahma Samhita, how to do that. Preman jana charita bhakti velochanena santak sadaiva hidayesha velokayanti yang shama shunjanamachan jaganasvarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who was Shama Sundar, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. So we have to smear our eyes with the ocean of prema anjana. There's so many ointments. The ladies like to put the, decorate their eyes with ointments. Or sometimes we use medicinal ointments also for the eyes. If some problem with the eye, you put some ointment. So just imagine prema anjana, the ointment of love of God. We have to anoint our eyes with the ointment of love of God. So how do you do that? Well, normally you put eye ointment, take a little tube, and squeeze it. But this ointment goes to the ears. It's amazing. You apply this eye ointment through your ears. The more you hear about Krishna with faith and devotion, the more your eyes become transformed, where you can experience Krishna everywhere. Yes, Krishna actually is everywhere. The first lecture I heard from Prabhupada in person was a wonderful, wonderful lecture. Prabhupada was sitting on Subhadra Devi's cart in San Francisco, the Ratha Yatra in 71. He said, "You have all seen God," because Krishna says, "I'm the light of the sun." And he said, "And every day you're drinking water once, twice, thrice, more than that every day. If every time you drink water, you remember that Krishna is the taste of the water, immediately become Krishna conscious." So it's not difficult to become Krishna conscious, Prabhupada said. It simply requires practice. So we have to get out of this habit of letting our minds space out in the material nature, which they're doing every day. We're just spacing out in the material nature every day, you see. We have to say, okay, mind, stop your nonsense spacing out in the material nature. Now, mind, you get serious about being always absorbed in Krishna consciousness. You see? It's time to get serious, mind, because life can end at any moment. You never know. Now with coronavirus going around, who knows? I could come down with it tomorrow and die within a week. It's a very good time for Krishna consciousness to help us become very serious. Look at Bhaji Swami. Who could think he would leave his body? You see? We don't know. Any one of us can leave at any time. So now we become very serious. I must become Krishna's pure devotee right now, he said. Not next year, no. Today, at this very minute, now I should become Krishna's pure devotee. That my only business now is to think about Krishna, talk about Krishna, serve Krishna, and make this world Krishna conscious. I have no other business right now at all for all of eternity. This is all my, be Krishna conscious and make the world Krishna conscious. I have no other business than to be Krishna's pure devotee and to make this world Krishna conscious. That's my only business. Now I can do other things for maintaining the body, some livelihood, that's all right, but that's external. That's not my real business. My real business is to be Krishna's pure devotee and make a spiritual revolution on this planet right now. I have no other business, you see. So now we have to focus ourselves. And if we do this, the whole world becomes transformed. We'll actually experience Krishna everywhere, at every minute. You won't even need to go back to Godhead to experience Krishna. You'll be totally connected. One can be just as connected with Krishna right here on this planet If he's fully absorbed in Krishna's service, he can be just as connected with Krishna as the gopis are dancing the rasa dance. Can you imagine? We can be just as intimately connected with Krishna right here, right now in this material world, if we're fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, as the Brijavasis are in Goloka Vrindavan. So you don't have to wait to go back to Godhead. You can be back to home, back to Godhead right now, just by full absorption in Krishna consciousness. Going back to home, back to Godhead is our desire, but we can be in that same atmosphere right here, right now within our hearts. Just by fully embracing Krishna consciousness is our only business from now on for all of eternity. Kicking out lust, kicking out anger, kicking out greed, madness, illusion, and envy. I have no business except to be Krishna's pure devotee. You see, I have to take shelter of the bona fide spiritual master. I have to be totally sold out to the spiritual master. I have to offer all respect to the Vaishnavas. Vanchakopatarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya evacha, patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So we have to not only worship Krishna, we have to worship Guru, we have to worship Vaishnavas also. The more you can be in the mood of being the devotee of Krishna, the more we can be in the mood of being the devotee of Krishna, that is our devotion to Krishna. Ye me bhakti jana partha, na me bhakti state janaha, mad bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas, te me bhakta tamamata. My dear Arjun, the one who is my devotee, na me bhaktas, he's not my devotee, but the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So how much are you a devotee of devotees? How much am I the devotee of devotees? We have to see how deficient we actually are in being devotee of the devotees. You see, being the devotees of the devotees. How much we are deficient. How much we're not in the mood of serving Vaishnavas and loving Vaishnavas and worshiping Vaishnavas. We have to see our deficiency. You see? So we should be very aggressive fault finders of ourselves. Prabhupada says, strict of oneself and lenient with others. We should be very, very big fault finders of ourselves, seeing all the nonsense going on in our hearts, you see, so we can kick it out. If you don't see the nonsense in your heart, how are you going to kick it out? We have to be willing to see what rascals we actually are. This is how I was trained by Vishnu Jan Swami in the very beginning. And Prabhupada told me, he said, you have been trained up under the expert guidance of His Holiness Vishnu Jan Swami. Prabhupada wrote me that way. I remember he gave me very good training. Rascal. He taught me that I'm a rascal, you see. That's how I was trained up. You're a rascal. You have to think that you're a rascal, you see. So that the more you can understand that you're a rascal, that becomes, you're actually becoming a saint, you see. The more you can understand you're a rascal, that's how you become a saint. If you think, oh, I'm a great saint, then you're just a rascal. You see. The more you can feel I'm a rascal, that's how you become saintly, you see. Tanada pisa nipchena, sarara pisa hishnena, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Won't you think he's just a rascal. And that way you can actually develop a taste for Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, does anybody have any questions? Any complaints, criticisms, corrections, revolutions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So one of the questions that comes many times in people's mind, which is very much in relation to today's topic, and as you rightly mentioned that taking more shelter of Krishna, and the world will be a beautiful place to live in, and less problems. So the topic, which was why worry so much, and live life rather than worrying too much. And as devotees, we always say, why worry when there's hurry? But having some worry to a certain extent also could become an impetus to move forward, right? So it's not to just do not worry at all about life, material life, spiritual life, but a little worry in proper quantity is also good, or no?
Well, we should actually see, there are two different kinds. There's transcendental worrying and there's mundane worrying. Transcendental worrying is seeing how I'm lacking Krishna consciousness. That's very good. That will feel the material world. We're worried about birth, the big worries are birth, old age, and disease. You see, when you worry about your lack of Krishna consciousness, then you're entering into that dimension beyond birth, death, old age, and disease. So there's what's called transcendental worrying. I'm not Krishna conscious. If you're thinking if you're worried, I'm not Krishna conscious enough. That's very good worrying. I'm not Krishna conscious enough. You think I'm advanced devotee. I don't have to worry about anything. My rounds are perfect. My relationships, my devotions are perfect. I have nothing. No, the more you can actually be concerned that our great Acharya has even said. You said, Lord Chaitanya said, unfortunate as I have no taste for these holy names. Even Lord Chaitanya expressed his mood of anxiety about having no taste for the names. So there's what's called transcendental worrying, which is actually releases us from all anxieties. Now, in other words, if you're in anxiety and about not being Krishna's pure devotee, not being Krishna conscious enough, that anxiety is very good. That anxiety liberates you from all the anxieties of material existence, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. So I would say start worrying about your lack of Krishna consciousness. That's a very good thing to worry about. And that will deliver you from all the anxieties of material existence.
Thank you. Gopal Govind Prabhu, you have a question?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. The question based on this topic and the class, the lesson you gave that we should not worry and we should be fully Krishna conscious is fully accepted. But many of us, especially myself, I'm just progressing on that. So in the initial stage, that ideal condition is very, very difficult to assume to not worry. We have this body, we have the activities at our exposure, which we have to do that anyway. So how do we transition to the stage that we can still continue serving, continue progress towards Krishna consciousness without getting deviated?
Well, you should rise early in the morning and chant Hare Krishna mantra at least 16 rounds, and always being in that mood of begging Krishna, my dear Krishna, please bless me, I can be your pure devotee. You have to be always in that mood of begging for pure devotional service. That mood should be going on 24 hours a day. My dear Lord Krishna, please bless me, I can be your pure devotee. Keep that mood going, and then Krishna will give you all intelligence how to deal with all the normal things of worrying in such a way that they don't become worrisome anymore. How to deal with all the problems of material existence. The problems of material existence will always be worrisome, but when you take your awakening of Krishna consciousness as your one worry, then those other worries become easily taken care of by Krishna's grace. Krishna will give you the intelligence. Tesham satatayuktanam vajatam puttipurvakam Tadami yudhi bhogam tam yena mambupiyanti te. To those who are constantly devoted in worship with me, I give them the understanding how to come to me. So if you have one worry only in how to become Krishna's pure devotee, then Krishna will give you the intelligence how to deal with all the normal worries of material existence in such a way they're no longer worrisome. That makes sense to you, Gopal Govinda
Yes.
Prabhu?
Yes,
have
Prabhu,
one
that definitely.
worry only how to become Krishna's pure devotee, and then Krishna will give you intelligence how to deal with all the other things. So they're no longer worrisome for you.
That's true. Absolutely true. It all makes perfectly sense. Um, I was just presenting my own situation that knowing all the theories, knowing all the practicals, still there are days like you are not. I cannot chant completely to my satisfaction, and there are days when you are very very happy, ecstatic also. So that pendulum is going on, and sometimes it just makes it very very unstable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a natural thing. For us neophytes, we get elated, we get depressed, It's our neophyte level, we go through the ups and downs. It's a natural thing for us neophytes, you see. We get elated, we get depressed, we get elated, we get depressed. It's a natural thing. So we have to, that's because we're still on the mental platform. The mind is always, it goes through ups and downs, ups and downs. We have to get beyond the mind. We have to use our intelligence, how to become situated beyond the mind. They're always thinking, let me always think, speak, and act in such a way that will please my spiritual master. We have to really, really focus on doing that. How can I please Guru and Krishna with my every thought, word, and deed in all times, places, and circumstances? That focus will get us off the pendulum of the elation and depression of the pendulum.
Thank you.
Madhav, you have a question?
Hey Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavat Pranam, Grace Shri Prabhupada. Prabhuji, it's kind of, your answer is a little bit similar to my question. When we start to worry a little bit about our Krishna, about just our life, and then we start to get serious in Krishna consciousness, or we just really feel like we have to increase our sadhana more. We get very strict in our sadhana, and it turns out very nicely in the beginning, but then slowly we hit a plateau, or we start to slacken. So how do we maintain that determination to continue to keep a very strong sadhana, or like how do we continue to remind ourselves? Yeah, basically that's the question.
Gotta beg for it, that's all. Ask Krishna to give it to you, my dear, because our tendency is to be up and down. So you have to keep begging Krishna, my dear Lord, please bless me, I can be steady in my devotional service. Just keep begging Krishna. Please help me to be steady in my devotional service. Today I'm really down, I'm really discouraged, I'm not enthusiastic. Please, Krishna, help me to be steady no matter what my mind may feel or think. Let me be always steady in my devotional service in all situations. Just keep begging Krishna for that. And he will reciprocate with your prayer. He will. If you sincerely beg him, he'll help you. Krishna wants you back in the mood of pure devotion. Krishna wants to reciprocate pure loving devotion with you at every minute. He wants to have that intimate, sweet, loving relationship he once had with you before you fell down. He wants you to heal, to come back to that intimate, sweet, loving relationship. So if you keep begging him, he'll help you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, there's a question in the chat box. The question is, what can be the best way to convey a person who is not Krishna conscious, who is dying on bed, as not to worry?
Someone who's not Krishna conscious, how not to worry?
Yeah, they're about to die, They're
How
not
about
in, yes. And at that point, obviously they are worried, they're concerned, they're afraid. How to tell
I
them
would
how
just
to,
tell them if you tell them, I'm gonna sing the holy names of God, and you simply you meditate on these holy names, and these holy names will carry you back to the kingdom of God. You simply we will sing the holy names of God. Now you absorb your mind in the sound. Just meditate on this beautiful kirtan that we're singing, and this kirtan will carry you back to the spiritual world.
any other questions? Okay.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Sure. First of all, Hare Krishna, how you doing? I've been in this for a month, so excuse me if I, get something wrong in asking this, but my chief anxiety about getting into this, and as with has been with other faiths that I've tried out, is that there seems to be like a lot of how to say it? Like, okay, so I'm just beginning to read Nectar of Devotion, and I'm at the chapter where it tells you everything that you could possibly do wrong and all the offenses that you could incur. And that's, and it just already set off like a bunch of anxiety, like, oh my God, I do these things without even thinking, without even knowing I'm doing this wrong. And it seems like it's always like maybe one step forward, but 2 or 3 steps back whenever I even sit down to chant. Now I get the feeling that, okay, I'm doing like 20 things wrong out of these lists. That's my chief like worry starting out, So I mean, I don't know, any insight or advice towards this?
Yeah, when you learn how to drive, it's just like when you learn how to drive, you say, well, you can't drive on the left, you have to drive on the right. When the light turns red, you have to stop. You have the speed limit. Driving is the same thing. You have the do's and the don'ts. If you want to learn how to drive a car, you have to know the do's and the don'ts. It's the same thing in Bhakti Yoga. When you learn to drive a car, you learn what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. The same thing with Bhakti Yoga. What's the big deal?
I mean, again, maybe it's just me. It just seems that there's a bit of more leeway with driving a car, but I don't know.
It's also driving a car, but it's driving your spirit self back to the spiritual world. It's a more sophisticated, it's a more high level type of driving. It's more advanced level. That's all. More advanced level driving.
Okay. Well,
car is kindergarten level.
I'll keep an eye out.
Car is kindergarten level, but Bhakti is the PhD level of driving.
I see. Okay, then I guess I go slow at the beginning.
If you take it seriously, Jim, you'll be successful. I guarantee you, if you take this process seriously, Krishna from within your heart will give you all guidance and help that you can become his pure devotee. Just take it seriously, and your life will become inconceivably sublime. I guarantee it.
Well then, so I earmark those chapters and take note of it more often then. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Bhakti Jim.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for that question, Jim. Anybody else? Go ahead, Ramcharan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is, like you explained so nicely, with all all the answers. I got the, thing like we need to pray and we need to continue this sadhana no matter whatever. So my question is, what is actually coming between us and Krishna? What is
Your false ego. Your false ego standing between you and Krishna. False pride, false ego. Thinking, I am great. That's what's standing in the way. You have to become humble. The false pride is standing in the way between you and Krishna right now. Everybody used to think you're lower than the straw on the street. And humility will break down that barrier between you and Krishna. Humility will break it down. Be humble, don't be proud and puffed up. Okay?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Prabhuji question. So, like we hear from the acharyas, even from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says that it is, I don't have a taste. Things like that. Even we hear all acharyas express the same kind of desire. Of course, out of humility they are talking, but I was just wondering, I had this question since long time, if they express their feelings like that, what people like us, what is the hope?
That they're actually, they have it actually, Lord Chaitanya has unlimited taste for the holy name. But he's explaining our position. He's presenting our position so we can understand what is our actual position and how we can get out of this position of no taste. These acharyas have unlimited taste for the name. But they're humbly putting themselves in our position to teach us what is our position and how we can get out of it. The teaching technique.
Yeah.
I think Lord Chaitanya has no taste for the name, but he's putting himself in our position and very humbly putting himself in our position to teach us how we can get out of this, out of our situation. That's all.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Somebody's asking, in your opinion, what's the number one thing that is stopping us from completely taking shelter of the holy name? What is holding us back?
We still think we're God. Still think I'm the supreme. I'm the center of enjoyment. That's the problem. We still think I'm the center of enjoyment. Like the hand wants to enjoy the food separately without giving it to the stomach. We still think we can enjoy separately from Krishna. That's the problem.
There's another question: how to preach to family? It seems like the family members seem to be the most obstinate of all to give Krishna consciousness.
Well, you understand what is the actual family. If you want to be successful in preaching to family, you understand what is the actual family. As long as you think that you remember a particular family, you will not be successful in preaching to that, quote, family, unquote. But to really be successful in preaching to families, understand we are all one family. All living entities are one family. We're all the children of Krishna. As long as you misidentify with the family, you won't be able to preach effectively to the family. But when you get free from family misidentification, then you'll be able to preach effectively to your family members.
Okay. Gopal, go in, Prabhu.
Question from Yogesh, my son.
What is false ego?
I'm a little hard of hearing. What is it?
What is false ego?
False ego is misidentification with your material body and thinking that you're the center of enjoyment. Ego means identity. It's how you identify. If you identify yourself as your material body and you identify yourself as being the center of enjoyment, then that's false ego. You're not
Okay.
that material body. You're not that body. Are you a boy?
Yes.
No, you're not. That's false ego.
Oh.
You're not that male body. You're a spirit soul sitting inside a male body, but you're not that male body. Are you an Indian?
Mm,
You're not that male body from an Indian family. That's not you. You're a spirit soul. Identifying with your material body, that's false ego. And thinking of the center of enjoyment is false ego. Real ego means I'm the eternal, I'm not this material body, I'm the eternal, I'm a spiritual being, the eternal servant of Krishna. That's real ego.
okay, thanks.
Now you have to put that into practice. Not just say thank you, but I want you to apply that now from now on the rest of your life. Kick out false ego and embrace real ego. From now on, for all of eternity.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
There's another question that it seems like some people feel that they get problems all the time, but they don't remember their past birth, so they don't know what they've done in the past. And when they ask for help in this life, they feel like there is no help coming their way. What to do?
Well, you throw the drowning person a lifesaver and he doesn't grab it, what can we do? There's so much an illusion that you throw them a lifesaver and they think it's a snake and they don't want to touch it. What you can do? You tell them it's not a snake, it's a lifesaver. Grab onto it. Why do you think it's a snake? It's a lifesaver. Grab onto it. It's a rescue from the drowning condition. Grab onto that lifesaver. Oh no, it's a snake. I don't want to touch it. No, it's a life. You have to try to convince them to grab onto it. It's a lifesaver. It's not a snake.
Right. Thank you.
So
Prabhuji, someone is asking how to demolish false ego.
By establishing real ego. Jivara Surapahaya Krishnara Nityadas. The constitutional position of the living entity is he's the eternal servant of Krishna. The Mayavadis simply want to smash false ego by saying it's false, but that doesn't work. You have to do, false ego is immediately destroyed when you establish the real ego that I'm the eternal servant of Krishna.
Prabhuji, what was your website? Somebody's asking for the website address.
www.joincourse.com. JOINCOURSE.com.
Thank
You
you.
get something every day, and it's free of charge. We give you, there's every day there's thought for the day. There's a weekly lesson, and you can ask questions. I answer emails every day from people all over the world. So take advantage of it. It's free. And we'll teach you how to become Krishna's pure devotees.
Ramcharan Prabhu, you had a question? I thought you were trying to... Okay.
Just a quick follow-up, Prabhuji, regarding that the question which you answered, we're trying to tell them that please, this is a rope, please catch it, but that person is saying no, this is not a rope, this is a snake. So in that connection, I have this question since long time. So when we're trying to preach or give Krishna consciousness to someone else, so the other person may take it or may not take it. Let me say, like if he's not taking, so that mean to say we can understand that as a preacher, we are not pure enough to transmit that, or the other person is more conditioned. So no matter so how we can understand this?
Well, it depends. It could be a more advanced preacher might be able to convince them, or it could be even a more advanced preacher cannot convince them. But in sales, the principle is this: some will, some won't. So what? Next. See, we don't depend on preaching. Our preaching doesn't depend on one person. There's a whole world out there, and there are people out there who are waiting to be awakened in Krishna consciousness, so they can just somehow come in contact with the devotee. So if some person is interested, go to somebody else. Why waste time with somebody who doesn't want to hear, doesn't want to learn?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Someone is asking, with our with our imperfect senses, how can we understand something that is perfect?
By hearing from the perfect. You hear from Krishna. You hear the knowledge of the perfect. By hearing the perfect knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, your imperfect senses become perfected by the power of Krishna's perfect teachings.
Okay. Any other questions, the devotees? Okay.
What is it?
If you love Krishna, you loving Krishna pleases him the most.
Yes, that's what Krishna wants. He wants our love.
Go ahead, Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one more question. I've been thinking about it, like our body condition is, there is no guarantee what will it remain, but we need to use this body to still practice the Krishna consciousness. So question is that what is that one single prayer which you can meditate that can, no matter what stage of life, let's say I have just somehow I come to know that I have just 2 minutes to survive for the life, and I can remember Krishna at that time.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yeah, so along with that prayer, the state of the mind, let's say I'm not pure, and even though I chant Krishna's name, but I don't remember him, I might be just mechanically chanting. So in that case, will it be still a good prayer, or should I still be doing something additional to that?
You have to avoid the 10 offenses. Chant Hare Krishna, avoid the 10 offenses. Then you'll be properly situated. You say another prayer, you have the same problem in another prayer too. You want to put another prayer in there, the other prayer will have the same problem. Why not chant the supreme prayer, but then avoid the offenses instead of thinking, let me find a different prayer? No, a different prayer will have the same problem. But if you can't focus on Hare Krishna, you won't focus on the other prayer either. So just chant Hare Krishna and avoid the 10 offenses. That's the solution.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Maybe I'll just rephrase my question. We know the prayer, we know the holy name is the supreme prayer. And my question was like, my state of the mind is such that it's not pure. And a person, let's say if I have a friend and I've been preaching around and I just meet the friend and he is like, he just probably have just like very short period of the time, and we give them this prayer that chant Hare Krishna, hears it but never practices it, forgets it after some time. So how we can how this prayer can work, how we can make that really, I mean, sometimes, you know, like something happens to you, then you remember it forever, no matter what stage of mind you are in. So what can be the such kind of thing can happen that you can never forget Krishna?
You have him read the Prabhupada's books. Get attached to reading Prabhupada's books. That's a real solution.
Yep.
Prabhuji, there's another question. If you love Krishna and think of him all the time, but I don't chant, will that be okay?
That's not going to happen. You're thinking if you're thinking of Krishna in a mood of, if you're always thinking of Krishna, you'll naturally chant his holy names. It'll naturally happen. That means you're not really thinking of Krishna. It's just a false show. I'm thinking of Krishna 24 hours. It's a false show. Not really doing it. Nope, not doing it.
Kanika, you have a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. So based on the topic today about not worrying, how do you train your mind that during the entire day where you're working in the hustle bustle of, life, with managing family, kids, how do you train your mind to become more conscious, to think about Krishna, so that when things are happening at that moment, and at that very moment where you have stress and anxiety is coming in, or you're dealing with problems, you don't give in to those modes of nature, or you don't give into that mode, and then you bring Krishna immediately. But how do you change your practice?
How would Krishna want me to deal with this situation? How would Krishna want me to deal with this? Just think, how can I deal with this situation in such a way that will please Krishna? That's all. Simple thing. It's like when you're working in a company, you have to please your boss, right? So Krishna is our boss. We have to please him by how we do everything. Simple thing.
I feel like it's simple, but it's also difficult, because at that moment, whether your mode, I think, whether you're, even if you don't want to get upset, you get upset. Like your emotions take control. It feels like at that very moment, I don't know if it's your nature, it kicks in.
No, we should take note. We should be a little introspective and take mental note when we know we did the wrong thing. It happens. Us neophyte devotees do it all the time. We do the wrong thing. We say the wrong thing. We think the wrong thing. We should be observing ourselves as we go through the day and thinking, well, did I do this right? It's called being introspective. You should study how you dealt with a situation and then analyze it. Did I do it correctly, or is it in a way that was pleasing to Krishna, or did I not? So the next time you can do it better. It's like any skill, by practice you can get better at it.
Great. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sulba Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhupada. I have one question. I was reading chapter 9, and in chapter 9 it's explained that there are three kind of Krishna conscious divisions, like first class man, second class man, and third class man. Everybody have the different faith. So how do we identify in which category we are, and which category is the best?
Well, I don't know specific. I know there's Uttamadhikari, Kanishthadhikari, and Madhyamadhikari. We all start off as in the third class. Kanishthadhikari is materialistic devotees, and gradually become Madhyama, and then ultimately want to become Uttama. So we all start off in the third class position, and we have to gradually elevate to the second and first class positions.
Okay. Thank you. And how do we make that switch?
By taking, well, one thing is you have to get initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. And that will help you come to the second class platform. You have to surrender to the bona fide spiritual master, taking his orders as your very life and soul. That will help you come to the second class platform. And then from there you can go on ultimately to the ultimate platform of pure love of God.
So that means who all are initiated, they are the second class comes in the second.
Not necessarily. If they're fully surrendered to their spiritual master's instructions, then they're in the second class position. They're deviating, they're still third class.
Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Somebody's asking, I'm a Shiva devotee and I dearly love him. I heard Shiva also meditates on Lord Ram. And I also heard in one talk that Shiva is a demigod and you only need to love Krishna. I love Krishna too, but I associate everything in my relationship, in my life, to Shiva. Is that any comments?
Well, Shiva is a pure devotee of Krishna, so to have devotion to him is very good, but you have to understand, if you think he's the supreme God, you're in a state of illusion. He's not the supreme personality of God, he's a servant of Krishna. He's actually the head of a Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Rudra Sampradaya. So he's a great pure devotee of Krishna, but he's not Krishna himself, he's not God, he wants us to be devoted to Krishna. So if you're really devoted to Shiva, if you're truly devoted to Shiva, you'll become a devotee of Krishna, devoted to Krishna, because that's what Shiva wants you to do. Say, no, I'll just be devoted to Shiva. No, you're not, then you're not really devoted to Shiva, because Shiva wants you to become Krishna's pure devotee.
Prabhuji, another question is, how can one remove the tendency of judging others?
Well, we strict with ourselves and lenient with others. And preaching, we have to make judgments. A preacher does judge if somebody is doing things properly or improperly, and and whenever possible, he corrects them and guides them. So it's not wrong to judge others if you're doing it in Krishna's service. But the point is, we should be most strict with ourselves. We should be most judgmental about ourselves. That's the point. That's the real point.
Kanika, you have another question?
Yes, Prabhuji. So I know you said that, that if you're devoted to Shiva, then you're deluding yourself. But then in the other,
no, if you say I'm only devoted to Shiva and not to Krishna, that's a delusion.
Okay, so if that's the case, but then there's also, and forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, but if you're, but Krishna also says a devotee of my devotee is dear to me, right? So wouldn't that get you being a devotee of Shiva? Wouldn't that bring you closer to Krishna?
If you're really devoted to Shiva, you become devoted to Krishna. You say, I don't accept Krishna. Krishna is just a rascal. I only accept Shiva, and that's wrong.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Prabhuji has answered so many questions, and I want to share one book that I have read questions as well. It's called Truth Works. You'll find it on Amazon. Is there another place that devotees can find it also?
Let's see. I think the ISKCON site also has it. And yeah, Truth Works is there on Amazon. And if you send me an email to SDA, or send me an email, tastenectar.com, and I can tell you there's any other, I think there's other places to get it. I forget what they are right now, but just send an email to tastenectar@gmail, and I can tell you if you want to try to get it somewhere else. I think
or if anybody would like to get a copy, it's all about many different questions and answers. And perhaps Arundhati Mataji can help us get that email or get us the books. That'll be wonderful. Mataji's on the call. I also want to, while if there's any other question, I also want to announce one more program that I'd like to share with you all is for next 4 Saturdays, Nitai Pada Kamala 4-Path series, which is organized by Bhakti Center, and many Northeast temples are part of this program, including us. So on this Saturday, we have His Holiness Radhanath Swami speaking on the teachings of Lord Nityananda, pastimes and teachings. So this information is also on our Facebook page. You can go there and get the login information. All right. Any other last questions? Couple of that. Yes, go ahead, Ram.
Follow-up question. So Prabhuji, yeah, sometime ago you mentioned that between us and Krishna, false ego is coming. So if false ego is addressed, that will take care the attachments what we have for this material. Is that will address that as well?
All your material attachments are tied up with your false ego. When you get rid of your false ego, your material attachments are gone.
Oh, okay, so that will address the attachment piece as well.
They're all tied up with your false ego. So when your false ego is gone, all your material attachments are gone too. Your false ego is only gone when you become a pure devotee. Until you become a pure devotee, you still have some tinge of false ego. So when you're a pure devotee, all your material attachments are gone automatically. You only have spiritual attachments.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Ramchandra, you are on mute.
I was saying, any other last question before we wrap up for the night? Okay.
I have a question. I have a question from one of my readers here on my other internet connection. They asked, sometimes one feels one's internal dirt was gone. Sometimes it becomes insurmountable how to deal with this phenomenon. So when sometimes we just feel it's just more than we can possibly handle, we should understand we have to just really intensify our begging Krishna, please save me, please save me, please save me, my Lord, from this very difficult position.
Somebody just typed to last one more question, if you can take.
Okay.
What is the best way to have humility?
Nada pizza niche, feel yourself lower than the straw on the street, being ready to offer all respect to others without expecting any respect for oneself.
Thank you. We hope you'll be able to make a trip to New Jersey after the COVID situation subsides, and
We'll see when it's going to subside. It's possible, yeah. We have to see. I don't know. It looks pretty bad, pretty bleak. Even they say that even the vaccine is only it's not fully protective. Only 95%. There's still a 5% chance of, even after you're vaccinated, there's still a 5% chance of catching coronavirus. Pretty bad situation right now.
the devotee is asking a question. When we know about Krishna's potency and how we should surrender, then why do we get false ego?
Because we're not doing it. That's why we're holding. We know, but we're not acting on what we know. We're holding on to our material attachments. I know I should surrender to Krishna, but I'm not doing it. I'm still trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Material attachments.
Many times we have many differences between the devotees. How can one maintain strong devotee relationships?
By always looking for the good in others, always seeing the good in others.
Well, I had this question since long time. So by chanting we'll get purified, or after purifying we will get chanting? Like what is?
I don't know, what is the question again?
By chanting we'll get purified, or
Right.
we need to first get purified and then chant? What exactly happens? By which?
No, you chant and become purified. We're content. When you're sick, you take the medicine and you get well. So we're sick, and the holy name is the medicine and to get us well. Not that you wait till you get well and take the medicine. No, you take the medicine to get well. The holy name is the medicine to help us get well.
Okay, so that means chanting is first. That leads to
Chanting is the medicine for us sick people. Not that you get well and you take the medicine later. No, you take the medicine to get well. So we're sick with lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy. The holy name is our medicine to help us get well.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, you're based in Austin. There's a temple. We have a temple there.
Yeah, we have a center here, ISKCON Austin, and it was supposed to open in 1971 by Vishnu John Swami. And my wife and I came back and reopened a preaching center here. We have a weekly programs. We have Mangal Arati, we have evening Arati, we have Sunday program. I'm sitting right here in our Austin Center right now. 10700 John Woodway.
Devotees ever happen to be in Austin, do visit and take.
Yeah, please come on Sundays. Actually, yeah, please come. We have Bhagavatam class every morning. The Sunday program we're having out in the yard because it's COVID safe. We're not having it inside. It's a little warmer down here in Texas. So we're having our programs out in the yard still. Even now in February, out in the backyard, we're having our programs. Everybody can stay at a distance.
I was telling Arundhati Mataji, it would be nice if Mataji can also give us a class sometime in the near future.
My wife?
Yes.
She doesn't like to be on video. That's the only thing.
I see. Okay.
She does audio, but she doesn't like to do video. I don't know. We probably can convince her to do audio. She does audio every day. She gives an audio class every day at livelectures.net. Everybody can tune in every day at 5 p.m. Central Time and hear her give a wonderful class every evening. And she and I alternates in the morning at 7:15 a.m. We alternate back and forth at livelectures.net. But she's not going to go, she doesn't want to be on video. She doesn't like to be, that's her nature, no video.
And same with us here. As you can see, most of us are not on videos and they like to be behind the scene. There's another question that how can one turn work as in a regular job into devotional service?
How can we do what?
How can one turn work, a job, into devotional service?
By offering the income in Krishna's service. Engaging every penny in Krishna's service and you earn your job. And to maintain if you're sincerely practicing pure devotional service, then maintaining your body also becomes transcendentalized. So you have to spend all your money in a Krishna conscious way. That's the point.
This question from somebody who's fairly new is, it's not a related topic, but rather curious why Radharani didn't marry Krishna.
Yeah, marriage is an instant. First of all, she was married to somebody else. That's why. That's one reason. But this is for a newcomer to understand these things. It's very. It's not really. It may be difficult for them to understand from ordinary standpoint of ordinary morality. The actual position is Krishna is the supreme Lord of everything that exists, and everyone is his expanded energy. So Krishna is, everybody is already intimately connected with Krishna for all of eternity. And Radharani is the most intimately connected and pure loving relationship of anyone. It has nothing to do with the external things of marriage or parenthood or being son or daughter or husband or wife. It's totally beyond all that. We're Krishna's expanded energy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I think that probably wraps up our evening today.
Okay, we thank you all for coming in. Thanks for inviting me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Let's thank Prabhuji.
Dandavats to you, Guru Maharaj. Dandavats to you.
Hari.
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
Hare Krishna.
See you all soon. In the next few hours. Hare Krishna.